Hey everybody, welcome to section 3.1 for geometry. Today's lesson is over pairs of lines and angles. I can tell you're completely stoked about that. We're just going to go through some slides together. You do need to take out your math notebook. You need to take notes and work out problems with me and on your own. And then obviously there'll be work you do at the end called homework. So first off, what are we doing in this section? This section is about parallel lines. It's about intersecting lines. It's about perpendicular lines. It's about skew lines. It's about coincident lines. That's pretty much it. It's relationships of lines. And it's also going to be about relationships of angles and different types of angles. But we're going to start off with what does it mean when two lines are parallel, intersecting, coincident, or skew? So maybe think about that for a minute. I think you probably have a pretty good concept of parallel, pretty good concept of intersecting, and probably maybe skew. Maybe you haven't heard of coincident before. So as we progress to this next slide, it says the figure shows a right rectangular prism. All of its angles are right angles. Classify each of the following pairs of lines as parallel, intersecting, coincident, or skew. Just justify your answers. By the way, two lines are skew lines when they do not intersect and are not coplanar. So without even me giving you any information, I just want you to try to fill this out the best you can. Classification is going to be, again, parallel, intersecting, coincident, or skew. And then there's going to be a reason. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to try this out. Just hit pause on the video. Just fill this out. Just fill it out in your math notebook. And then we will obviously check it. And then as we are checking it, you can change your answers. You can add to your answers. This is just more to see what you can do without a lot of instructions. So go ahead and hit pause now and try these. Okay, now that you're back, let's go ahead and check and see how you did. So if I look at the next page here, the answer page, you can see that line AB and line BC, that those lines are intersecting, and they do intersect, and they intersect at point B. So two lines, if they do intersect, will always intersect at a point. The next one, AD and BC, those two are parallel. Lines are parallel if they will never intersect, and they are coplanar. They're on the same plane. For C, we have EI and IH. Well, EI and IH are really the same line. So when two lines are the same, we say they coincide. And then our reason is we just say points EI and H are collinear. So if those points are all on the same line, it is the same line. So that's what they meant by coincident. For D, BF, kind of like the back left corner of the box, that is skew with the front base of the box. They're not on the same plane, and they will not intersect. Next, EF, which is like the left bottom left of the box, and CG, which is the back right of the box. They are also skew for the same reason. And then finally for F, AB and GH. AB and GH. Those are parallel. And you can see that I drew those red lines in here to show that those are parallel lines. It's basically a non-drawn plane. You have to draw the lines in. So, and you can create a plane inside of the box going diagonal. So to understand, we have our vertical and horizontal planes, but we also have those kind of hidden, undrawn diagonal planes that you can draw in. So you can see how I connected AB to GH. That does create a plane, and then those two lines would be parallel. So again, if you need to hit pause and add some things in, just go ahead and do that. But whatever I have on this screen is what you should have on your paper, your notes. Okay, if I go to the next page, it says to identify all the pairs of vertical angles. Okay, well, vertical angles are angles, again, that are across from each other diagonally, and they are congruent. So you can see I wrote out 1 and 3 are congruent, 2 and 4 are congruent. I didn't write 5 and 7 and 6 and 8, but those are congruent. So what I did is just included a little bit here. So if I, oops, sorry about that, go back, and I add some things here. Let's go back to red. go to red. So let's go to black. So these are going to go with A, and I didn't write all of them down. I didn't write the 5 and 7 and the 6 and 8. I'd like you to do that. As far as linear pairs are two angles that are adjacent, and they are supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. So I did 1 and 2, 5 and 6. 1 and 2, 5 and 6 are not the only ones, but they are some of them. If I wanted to add more of them, I could have done 2 and 3. I could have done 6 and 7. I could have done 7 and 8. I could have done 3 and 4. I could have done 1 and 4. So a lot of different angles there that are that form a linear pair. Okay, I only wrote down some of them. So I did say all. So even though you see what I wrote, I'd like you to add in the other ones that I didn't. So I'll give you a few seconds to add more. Okay, moving on. As you see this next page, this is where we get more specifically into the definitions. So two lines that do not intersect are either parallel or skew. Two lines that are parallel are when they don't intersect and they are coplanar. Or skew lines also do not intersect and they are not coplanar. They're not on the same plane. Also, two lines that do not intersect are two planes that do not intersect are parallel planes. So we talk a lot about skew lines and parallel lines, but we also have parallel planes. We also have perpendicular lines and perpendicular planes, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. So you can see with this diagram here that M and N are parallel, and then there's some notation for that. So you can see here that M is parallel to N. Also, lines M and K are skew. M and K are skew. Planes T and U, those are parallel planes. And lines K and N are intersecting. And it says there is a plane not shown containing them. So again, you got line K and line N. They intersect at that point right there. We just don't have it labeled. It says small directed arrows, as shown in red, on lines M and N above are used to show that lines are parallel. So from now on, if you're going to show something that's parallel on a diagram, I want you guys to make a little arrow. If there happens to be more than one line that's parallel, then, for example, you could do like 2 arrows. So if these two are parallel, but then we have another set that's parallel, I could have another arrow here. So it'd be like a double arrow. So we do a double arrow, or you could do a single arrow. But you need to put those markings on the lines that are parallel. Also, segments and rays are parallel when they lie in parallel lines. And a line is parallel to a plane when the line is in a plane parallel to a given plane. So in the diagram above, line N is parallel to plane U. Line N is parallel to plane U because plane T is parallel to plane U, and line N is in that plane. Okay, moving on. You can see some of my sloppy handwriting, so I'm actually going to rewrite this. I wrote this earlier without a stylus, so now I'm going to go back and make it look a little bit better. I do have a stylus that's working now, so it should improve, although not by much. We know my handwriting is a little bit weak. So we will go ahead and try to do that here. So let's try to go with a different color here, see if I can change colors. A line that is parallel to CD and it contains point A. So again, a line that is parallel to CD and it contains A, I got to go with this one. I'm going to stick with black. So we're going to go with AB. And again, that's line AB. So treat everything like it was line. Plane are lines that are skew, or line that skew to CD, and it contains point A. Okay, so we want skew to CD, and it has to contain the A. Remember, A again is right here. So I could do a couple things. I could do AG. I also could do some other things here. I could also do AH. And I think those are pretty much the biggest ones that I would probably do at this point. I don't see anything else that just jumps out at me as is one that you'd want to probably do that for. But yeah, I would definitely go with AH and AG. So AH and AG. Okay, so those would be skew. Next, perpendicular to CD. Perpendicular to CD. I think in this particular case, again, if I go back and erase some stuff here for you, make it look a little bit easier to read. And then we go back. I think for this one, obviously we want perpendicular, so we have this line CD, and then I would go with this line AD. So I would go AD is perpendicular. So here's how we do perpendicular. So AD is perpendicular to CD. And then up above, we wanted to say that AB is parallel to CD. So this is the proper notation for that. And then finally, we have planes. So planes parallel to plane EFG. So EFG is going to be the bottom of the box. Well, if I have a bottom of the box and I want something parallel, and it has to contain A, well, that has to be the top of the box. So I just want to list the top of the box as a plane. So I'm going to go plane, and then I'm going to say A, B, C. Okay, so the top of the box will be parallel to the bottom of the box. Okay, moving on. Again, I'm going to go back and erase some of the stuff. I tried it earlier, and again, I did not use a stylus. So let's try it again, make it look a little bit better, not quite as sloppy. So let's go back. For this particular one, it says name the line or lines through F that appear skew to EH. So here's EH, and we want something that goes through F. So it has to go through F and is skew. So a couple things here. One, I could do BF. Obviously, I can't, in this particular case, I can do BF. I can also do BA. So I could do BA. Okay, I could do BA. I can't do BC. Can't do BC. One thing that you may not have thought of that you could do is, again, it has to go through, oops, I'm sorry, let me erase that. I thought it has to go through, never mind, it just has to go through F. So ignore the last one. I wasn't looking carefully, distracted. Oops, I already have that color, I don't want it. Let's go ahead and erase that one. So let's think if we went through BF, but we can't do AB. Because that's going to be, it doesn't go through F. So I think another one you could try here is we actually could do CF. So I could actually do CF, and that would be skew. So I could do BF, I could do CF. It has to go through F, so I can't do FG, and I can't do FE. The only other one I could entertain doing would be AF. Okay, so the main one that I want is BF, but we could do this BC, and we could also do, did I say BC? Sorry, FC. We could do FC, we could also do FA. The biggest one that I want you to do, though, the main one is BF. That's what we want for that one. So we want line BF. There you go. Moving on, we got some more definitions here. We have actually postulates. Parallel postulate and perpendicular postulate. So again, there's exactly one line through P that is parallel to L. And then for perpendicular, there is exactly one line through P that is perpendicular to L. So again, that's called the parallel postulate and the perpendicular postulate. Next one, again, I have some answers here, but I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this just so one, you can try it, and two, it doesn't look quite as sloppy. So what I want you to try then is, I want you to try these three. It says, name a pair of parallel lines, name a pair of perpendicular lines, and they want to know is segment FE parallel to AC. So go ahead and take a minute to fill this out as I erase some of my previous writing. And I want you to go ahead and fill this out the best you can in your math notebook, and we'll give you a minute to do that. Just go ahead and hit pause. And when you're done, go ahead and hit start again. Okay, now that you're back, let's fill these out. It says name a pair of parallel lines. Well, you've already got markings on the diagram, so just use what was given to you. So for this particular one, we have that DA is parallel to EF. Okay, so it does say lines. So let's go. DA is parallel to EF. Name a pair of perpendicular lines. Okay, well that's also marked as well, right here and right here. So I can actually say DM and BM. So DM is perpendicular to DM, or BM. That's a B. So DM is perpendicular to BM. You can see that little right angle symbol right there. And then finally is FE parallel to AC. So they want to know, is FE parallel to AC? Well, this answer is no. So no, they're not parallel. And there's no way they could be parallel because remember again from the postulate that we just talked about, the parallel postulate. The parallel postulate says there's exactly one line through a point that is parallel. Well, we already have line DM. D goes through M. CA also goes through M, but there's only one line that's parallel that goes through that given point. So CA is not parallel to FE. If they extended EF, they would intersect each other. So that answer is going to be no for that one. Next, we've got some angle relationships. So some different angle relationships here. Our first one is angles formed by transversals. So if you have two lines that are cut by a transversal, the lines do not have to be parallel. But the first one is two lines are corresponding when they have the same corresponding positions. Angle 2 and angle 6 are above the lines and to the right of the transversal. So we consider that the same position. For the next one, two angles are alternate interior when they lie between the two lines and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So two angles are alternate interior when they lie between the two lines and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay. Moving down here, I've got two angles are alternate exterior, that would be 1 and 8, when they lie outside the two lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. And then finally, we've got consecutive interior. Another name for consecutive interior is same side interior. And that's when they lie between the two lines and they're on the same side. So 3 and 5 were given to you. I added in the 1 and the 4. So 3 and 5, 1 and 4, they're in between the lines and they're on the same side. Those are consecutive interior angles. Okay. Now this does not mean that the lines are parallel. We'll get to that lesson later, and that's a similar lesson, but it has to do when the lines are parallel. Right now the lines are not necessarily parallel, but we still call them these types of angles. So again, let me go back and do some erasing. I want you guys to fill this out and go ahead and hit pause. And I want you to try these on your own. And I want you to list all the pairs of corresponding angles, all the pairs of alternate interior, all the pairs of alternate exterior, and all the pairs of consecutive interior. So go ahead and hit pause and try these. Okay, let's go ahead and see how you did. Corresponding angles are going to be angle 1 and angle 5. I've also got angle 2 and angle 6. Angle, there you go, angle 6. I've also got angle 3 and angle 7. And finally, angle 4 and angle 8. It's angle 8. So those are all corresponding. Same side, same position. Alternate interior, don't have a lot of those, but we do have angle 2 and angle 7, and angle 4 and angle 5. And then finally, next to last, alternate exterior is going to be 1 and 8, 3 and 6. And then finally, the consecutive interior, we're going to go 2 and 5. Keep making square root symbols. 2 and 5. And 4 and 5. Sorry, 2 and 7. Ignore. 2 and 7. 2 and 7. And then 4 and 5. Or keep. Hold on. Erase. I was right the first time. I'm getting tired here. I was right with 2 and 5. I don't know why I'm thinking of a different pair. So 2 and 5 and 4 and 7. 2 and 5, 4 and 7 again. So these two are consecutive interior, and these two are another pair of consecutive interior. Again, there is a relationship when it comes to the lines being parallel. Right now, with the lines not being parallel, just go with, it's called consecutive interior, or it's also called same side interior. But 2 and 5, 4 and 7, getting a little delirious here. Okay, next, go through here the last couple slides. 1 and 5, it says to classify them. 1 and 5 are corresponding. 2 and 7 are alternate exterior, and 4 and 5 are alternate interior. Okay, and exit ticket. Exit ticket, let me erase. Whenever you guys fill this out, this will be your last slide, and then you go ahead and can take this information and try the problems in the book. So first one we want you to try, let's go ahead and hit pause after you hear me read the instructions, and hit pause and then try these last three. I want you guys to find a pair of parallel lines. I want you to find and write down a pair of perpendicular lines, and then I want you to write down, find and write down a pair of skew lines. So go ahead and just do one pair of each and write them down. So go ahead and hit pause one more time and try these three. Okay. Lots of options here. Let's go with parallel lines. I'm going to go with UX is parallel. Remember, use your notation. Is parallel with VY. Is that the only answer? No. Some of you may do VY and WZ. Others of you may do XY and UV. Others of you may do VW and YZ. Okay. You also could do UX and WZ. So if you have any of those, that's good. Perpendicular. Well, it does say it's a right triangular prism. So that is a right angle. And that is a right angle. So I know that line UV is going to be perpendicular to WV. UV and WV. I also could do XY is perpendicular to ZY. Okay. Finally, a pair of skew lines. So different types here. Everybody may have something a little bit different. What I'd imagine that most of you probably would have picked for this one, at least I think that's what you would have had, is I did UW. UW is going to be skew with, I could do a VY. Okay. I also could do UW with XY. That's the one I did. UW is skew. So UW is skew with XY. Okay. You also could do UW and ZY as well. Okay. So different options on that last one. Okay. Here you go. Finally, it says, oh yes, it's back. Things have been pretty darn easy lately for y'all. I know we've tested a lot, which can be stressful, but we haven't had that much to do outside of class. It's been pretty light lately. So it's time to get back to your favorite, sudden death dodgeball. Okay, never mind. That's just a movie quote. I meant homework. So write this down in your planner and complete it by tomorrow. It is page 129 to 130. It is 3 to 20 all. So definitely make sure you have that. Otherwise, we will have to have you stay after school on Friday, and I don't think that you really want, or on Friday, we really don't want you to have to stay after school. So go ahead and work these out. If you have questions, let me know. Obviously, if you have a study hall as well, you could come up and ask questions, but page 129 to 130, 3 to 20 all. Thanks for watching.